Today we're going to look at how we use scales and percents to solve with proportional reasoning. When we're looking at scales, scales are just another way to compare two numbers. An example of a scale would be 1 inch is equal to 25 miles on a map. You can see this a couple of different ways. 1 inch equals 25 miles, 1 inch represents 25 miles, 1 inch for every 25 miles, but they all represent the same ratio. The ratio that they represent is comparing 1 inch to 25 miles. I can also see a scale like this. 2.54 centimeters is 1 inch. This is comparing two different measurements in metric and in customary. You could see it as 2.54 centimeters to every 1 inch, or 2.54 centimeters colon 1 inch, but again, they all represent the same ratio, comparing 2 54/100ths of a centimeter to every 1 inch. Okay. Lastly, you can see a scale like this. A model is 1/50th of the actual. This is comparing every one of the model is equal to 50 of the actual. So if I'm talking about a model airplane compared to an actual airplane, 1 unit on the model, doesn't matter what it's measured in, is compared to 50 units of the actual. So this fraction actually represents a ratio. Using your knowledge of scales, we would read this problem. A model of an airplane says the parts are 1/100th of the actual size. If the propeller is 2.4 inches from one tip to the other, how long is the actual propeller in feet? What I would like you to do is to set up the proportion you would use to solve this. You don't need to solve. I would like you to just set up the two ratios that are in a proportion, what you think you should do based on what we just talked about using scales. Now let's look at percent proportions. When I'm talking about the percent proportion, this is speaking about a proportion that helps you solve percent problems. The proportion is represented two ways. Is over of equals the percent over 100. Or you can write it as the part over the whole is equal to the percent over the 100. Okay, a couple different ways you can see percent proportions using proportional reasoning. What is 12% of 11? If I'm looking at my is over of equals percent over 100, it's telling me I'm looking for the is part. What is? That's the part. So that's going to be my x, my unknown. Then it tells me 12%. Well, I know 12 is the percent, and percents are always out of 100. And then what is 12% of 11? That means that 11 is your whole or your total. That would be the proportion you would set up. You could also use proportional reasoning for this percent problem. 15 is 24% of what number? Well, 15 is the part, so that's the numerator. 24% is also the numerator because that's the part out of 100. And then it asks 15 is 24% of what number? So I'm looking for the of or the whole. That would be my unknown. Okay. Last type of problem you can see and solve using proportional reasoning is 82 is what percent of 91? Well, 82 is the part, 91 is the whole, and then I am missing my percent. I want to know what the percent is, but it's still always out of 100. Now I would like you to write the percent proportion you would use for this problem. The data shows that 60% of 1,000 adults surveyed were afraid of public speaking. How many people surveyed were afraid of public speaking? I would like you to set up the proportion you would use to solve this problem. Bring this one and the previous one on scales to class the next time I see you.